Share screen. Okay. So this this presentation is going to be part of a series of presentation. This is weekly. Let me highlight with pen. This is going to be weekly, 4 or 5 sessions. You can see on the top left side. And every Saturday, especially in this month, July. Okay. So in this presentation, I'm going to talk about what people has been talking about a lot about blue economy and all these things, because it is not just an idea, it's the future that we must build together. But that means this is something that is very ambitious. So everybody is talking about it, but it is a very ambitious thing that people must understand what is actually inside the blue economy. Okay, so I'm going to cover today. I'm going to cover about community. You can see this one here. This is the presentation of today, but I'm going to cover a little bit more in the next week. It's a continuation of this presentation, and the title of that one is Journey to the Gorge. Why Gorge? Why do I call it a gorge? Because this concept, if you misunderstood, you are going to lead people to a very deep gorge that they cannot continue further, right? They are going to stuck on the edge of the gorge, and eventually, if you did not build a bridge to go across it, they will turn back to their old life. And then we are going to talk also about the third week, we are going to talk about stakeholder complexity. Okay, when we talk about blue economy, it involves government, it involves corporation, it involves local community, it involves everybody in the industry, right? So when this many stakeholders, there is a risk. There is a risk, as we know it already, there is a risk of paralysis. Okay? There are all these stakeholders have different priorities. They have also complex decision-making framework. And then they have different time and process costs. They have risk. This is risking paralysis. Yeah, this is what we're going to talk about. So that when people want to talk about blue economy, they have to understand what they're talking about, right? Because this is a very ambitious concept. So let's start with the first. Oops. Let's go back. Okay. So let's start with the first one. Today, my presentation is about from dream to reality. Why do I say that? Because everybody, NGOs or governmental bodies or new people who are new to conservation. Everybody is trying to talk about blue economy. Okay, this one on the right hand side, it is the objective that they are talking about. But the NGOs, the individuals, the corporation, the governmental bodies who are talking about, they're talking about restoring ecosystem. They're talking about carbon negative practices. They're talking about regenerative material and techniques. They're talking about community inclusion. They're going to talk about nature-based solutions. But when they talk about this to a local community, what does it mean? It means that that person who are living one day at a time is going to follow these concepts. And then they didn't know where they are getting into. Of course, they are going to be told about the beauty and shiny parts of the blue economy, the reality part. They're going to be told that. But they are not told how to get there. They are only told how to do it until they reach the gorge. When they reach the gorge, there is a deep cliff that they cannot build a bridge. They cannot afford a bridge. They cannot have time because these are people who are living one day at a time. We are talking to in the local communities in the coastal region, and they're not gonna build this bridge to go across. Okay, to go across. So that's the missing link. We tell them about how beautiful it is on the other side. We tell them the effort they're doing is going to take them there. But we didn't include the transition process, the missing link. Many are led to the edge. They're led to the edge and they're left there to wonder what happened. And then after waiting that things doesn't materialize, they go back to the old way, right? So many are led to the edge, but few are shown the way to go across. This is where most initiative stops. Yeah, it can be conservation NGO ABC or Save the Ocean Society or whatever. They are telling the local people to do the dream. Because the dream is what is going to be the reality. But how to get from dream to reality, nobody tells anyone. So this is the presentation is all about today. Okay. Let me erase this. Let's move on to the next slide. So, one of the most important questions in the blue economy is what is the bridge that carries communities from ecological dream to sustainable reality? What is the bridge? The bridge is commerce literacy. That means if they don't have commerce literacy, they don't know how to handle economy. All this dream part, this restoration of ecosystem, this carbon negative, this regenerative material, this inclusion of community, this nature-based solution is just a dream because they cannot be actually functional blue economy enterprises. They cannot be functional, regenerative aquaculture. They cannot be local product, global markets, for example, or responsible tourism operators. They can't be. They can't be. Because simply, if you take one from the dream side, say this guy here is a tourist guide, and you tell them about ecotourism, about how to be responsible tourism and all these things, he will say, yeah. But, nothing will happen, okay? Because these people did not have commerce literacy. That includes how to maximize their revenue, how to disburse their finances, how to reinvest in the strategy of the dream, how to reinvest in here and make it profitable, how to administrate their businesses. Now we are talking about blue economy. Blue economy means everyone from bottom to the highest level knows something about economy, right? So that means people need commerce literacy, which doesn't exist anywhere yet in the dream side. I don't see anybody is providing the means to build a bridge. Okay? So the Blue Economy program excel at teaching ecological restoration. Communities learn how to restore mangrove, propagate coral, reduce carbon, recycle marine material, protect biodiversity. These are essential. These are essential. Then the second half begins when the project has to sustain itself. This does not feed anybody. Okay? The dream part does not feed anybody. The second half is the reality part. Begin with the second half, we will see that the project has to sustain itself without depending on grants, on external donors, on that all will never come to these people because literally on paper, they're not qualified to get grants. They're not qualified. People don't donate to individuals. They donate to NGOs, whatever, who are sitting on the reality side. Yeah. So commerce literacy is not about turning conservationists into corporate executives. It's not. It is about equipping the communities with practical knowledge needed to make conservation economically sustainable. Okay? That means they can do it indefinitely. They can do all this dream part indefinitely without having to wait for money from donors, without having to wait for money from grants, which they will never get because they are not literate enough to be entitled. Okay? They must understand how to identify products. In the fourth session, we will talk about ecological capital, the capital that comes from nature for these ecological or conservation enterprises. We will talk about that, okay? So they must understand how to identify products and services that can create value, price them appropriately, reaching customers, managing cash flow, maintain financial record, and plan future growth. In advanced countries like the United States, farmers have this knowledge. Farmers have this basic commerce literacy. That is why they are high-income agriculture communities as compared to the Asian side, okay? So That is what needed for the communities to go on. Then we have revenue generation alone is not enough. Community must also learn responsible financial disbursement. We are talking about here, right? They are also important equally to reinvest that money for the future. The local communities that everybody is talking about in Philippines, in Indonesia, in Vietnam, in Cambodia, in Laos, wherever they are, they live one day at a time. So we are going to talk in the next session, we're going to talk about that. How to get them out of that one day at a time and actually participate in the dream side. This dream is created by someone in the reality side. Okay? So then let's move on. So now we need to examine what is going on here. Sustainable business that lasts. Can they do that? On the dream side, we talk about restoration, we talk about innovation, we talk about conservation, we talk about sustainability. But how do they sustain in the first place, right? They need a bridge to go across to the reality side, okay? So the reality side sits wild business, market values, jobs, financial. We have to get them to have a little bit knowledge about the reality so that they can create something sustainable for themselves. If they are continuing to catch parrotfish and sell them for 100 peso a kilo, and they are not improving their livelihood yet to be able to even touch the dream side, let alone the reality side of blue economy. Okay? So, when we examine the coastal economy today, we often find that the local communities occupy the very beginning of the value chain. They harvest fish, they cultivate shellfish, and then they restore coral reef if they do. They guide tourists, they produce handicraft, they manage some natural resources, if any. Yet despite being the primary producer of value, right? The primary producer of what we needed, they frequently receive the smallest share of the economic returns. Okay, so we are talking about, you see this slope here, from the Gorge, you go on the left, you go that side. On the other side of that slope will be the coast, the coastal region, where the people who are at the beginning of the value chain, beginning to bring fishes from the harvest, cultivate shellfish, restore coral reef, guide tourists, produce handicraft, manage natural resources, yet being at the primary producers of value, they frequently receive the smallest share in the economic returns. Let alone to build a bridge, to go across, to realize the blue economy concept. Okay? So now we need to understand that first, because at the end of this blue economy presentation, then we will talk about the strategy. How do we want to overcome this problem? Okay? So we talk about communities that become owner of the resources and leaders of change. How do we get them to be that in the first place? So we are going to build the bridge. Yeah, building the bridge requires a coordinated society of everybody, the government, the corporation, the NGOs, the experts, the scientists, the education sector, everybody that live in this side, on the reality side, to first build commerce literacy. That's the bridge. Okay, that's the bridge. To build this, when they can build this, they then will produce communities that are owners to the resources, leaders of change, and drivers of enterprise. Okay, we will talk about it. Then we are going to become cooperative, because like in advanced country, there are cooperative, there are unions of farmers, for example. Those are cooperative. They work together, collective ownership, that means. Then NGOs on the other side, conservation body, will uphold this integrity by monitoring them, to check their transparency, to provide education, training, and commerce literacy. Local government will enable policies, infrastructure, venue to structure that bridge. This is why it is difficult, because it is not only the communities now. We also have the NGOs on this side, and then we have the local government on this side. It's even more difficult now, because they involve some political structures to be included. Then we have the corporate side, ESG and all this. People who are living on the other side of the gorge, who are talking about it, who have knowledge of viable business, who have knowledge of market value, who have knowledge of job and livelihood thing, who have knowledge of finance resiliency, who also are able to create sustainable businesses that will be fair in value. For who? For the communities, okay? Then, if we want to have blue economy, then the standard of living of the poor has to be improved. For them to improve, they have to leave the attitude of living one day at a time, okay? They have to leave that. Or how do they live that? If they are just a local fisherman, yeah, that's talking about one person. 10 local fishermen can be a community. They can create a cooperative together. They can get, this is where the NGO who's banging the drums on blue economy should do, to bring commerce literacy first, before we talk about the dream, before we do this, because these people in the communities today are living at one day at a time, okay? We cannot have the dream without building a bridge between reality and the dream. So, Blue Economy Initiative, let's see, yeah? Blue Economy Initiative, a regenerative cycle, beautiful. One of the greatest misconceptions about the blue economy is that it begins with business. It does not. Nor does it end with ecological restoration. It does not too. Blue economy is a complete cycle that integrates ecology, society, commerce, and governance into a self-reinforcing system. Okay? It is a complete cycle. So if we want a healthy ocean, we cannot start doing the same thing again. Oh, the sea gypsy are the culprit. They break the ocean. They have no knowledge about this, what we're talking about. They have no knowledge about conservation or anything. To them, when they are born, they are fish in the ocean. When they grow up, they're still fish in the ocean. And they have the rights to do whatever they want, right? So, oh, the coastal fishermen is destroying all the reef and everything. Yeah, of course. They are uneducated. They are not educated. Yeah. So what are we going to do? So we have to understand this. Okay. We have to understand to create this blue economy cycle. From one, the ecological assessment, what we're going to do, identify natural capital in presentation 4. I'm going to talk about this. Okay. Then how to organize community. We're going to talk about it in the next week session. Restore and protect ecosystem, I will leave that behind. But commerce literacy and capacity building, we are going to talk about that one. Okay. So this is reality. Then for those who want more about this blue economy concept, then I suggest we will have a proper training on how to develop products and services that is actually blue economy, to build market value chain. Okay. People would tell me about, they say, oh, let's do a blue economy project, pilot project here and there, and get the local fisher folk to start to grow oysters. Yeah, okay. They grow oysters. Say the oyster takes 6 months, 8 months, or even a year to be able to harvest, right? Okay, on the side, they go fishing. They grow the oysters. What good does that make for them if they go and sell the oyster at a wet market for the local who cannot afford any more than 100 peso a kilo, for example, right? So if we did not identify where they are going to maximize their market value, yeah, on number 7 there, if we don't identify that and we don't help them build sustainable income coming from good market values and good revenue potential that is sustainable and repeatable, forget about this. Forget about the oyster thing. Okay, that is easy. Planting coral is easy. Catching fish is easy. Growing fish is easy. All is easy. But to make a change in the lives of the local people through the blue economy concept, we need to do all these things in the red circles that I put in here. Financial management, how do they manage their finances that they will be able to have extra to reinvest? To a single fisherman on the coast, no chance. But for 100 or 1,000 fishermen that belongs to a cooperative, they have chance. They can demand good prices. They can find good value for their hard work. They can have financial management that is assistance from banks and financial institutions. They can have money to reinvest as a cooperative. They can have monitoring and evaluate and adopt and grow again from what they do. If they are growing oysters at 100 kilogram per person, that is going to become a 300 kilogram per person per month production. How do that do that? Through monitoring, evaluate, adapt, and reassessment, and start again. Yeah. This will never taught to by any NGOs that is related to blue economy to the local community. They expect them to do their dream work and bring them to the edge of the gorge and left them there. And when they have nowhere to go, they will return to the same practice that they do from the day they are born, right? This is why many initiatives fail. Many community initiatives fail because of that, because you left them hanging on the side of the gorge. Okay, so how do we want to do this? The challenge is overdependence. Now, this is not only applying to the local community now. This is applying to the NGO is going to help them too, to the non-governmental bodies that are going to help them too. They cannot be over-dependent on any single stakeholder that is going to create vulnerability. Then when leadership changes, funding shift, priority change, initiative can be disrupted. Example, if the NGO that is helping with commerce literacy is over-reliant on grants, what if the grants stop? Yeah, normally you don't get grants like 3-4 times. You get once, twice if you're lucky, right? So once the grant runs out, yeah, can you depend on donation? No, you can't. They have to be part of this commerce literacy program. They have to be part of the business of blue economy. They have to be part of from dependency to resilience. How do they do that? They have to do a change. Everything has to change. When we talk about blue economy, nobody today is actually ready yet to actually take on this very ambitious change. But if we don't initiate, then we are heading to a dead end because the environment is going to die, the environment is going to degrade, catastrophic devastation, and then there won't be any reality on the other side of the gorge anymore. Okay? So on the reality side, if you look at this slide here, there is eco and agro tourism, there is marine education, there is sustainable fisheries, there are blue carbon projects, there are food, seafood and products, there are research and innovation. Yeah. Who are we telling this to? Are we telling this to the communities that they are going to do the blue economy part? No. This comes from the people on the reality side who wants to do it. But the reality side did not fulfill the dream side to enable this to actually go. So we gauge that from governmental funding and policies, from NGOs and donors, from corporate ESG support, from academic institution, from community capacity, work together to tie one knot at a time to build this bridge. We are far from even starting the foundation of the bridge yet. Okay, we are far. So a lot of people would disagree with me, especially the political side. They say, oh, we have done this, we have done that, we have spent $4 million to do this and that. Yeah, but the reality of blue economy has not been achieved anywhere yet. Okay, anywhere yet. So now we are going to look at the shift of role. In the early stage, a lot of support is needed. Yeah, the people needs a lot of support from external funding, from technical assistance, from infrastructure support, capacity building, market access. Then we have, when we reach the mature state, they become self-reliant. So this is when they are self-managing already. Okay? Is it possible? Absolutely. If the agriculture in the advanced countries can have cooperative that works, farmers cooperation that works, farmers association that works, it works the same way. Yeah. So how does the West actually educate their farmers? Literacy, commerce literacy. This is the first thing that has to be done. Okay. So when that is applied, then we expect a self-reinforcing cycle. We expect a healthier ecosystem. We will see thriving enterprises. Yeah. We are seeing people reinvesting into it. Then we see a strong and comfortable and secure communities. And then we have everything have more value to its creation. Okay, it's not 100 peso a kilo oyster or 80 peso a kilo parrotfish anymore. Okay, so when we are talking about that, a lot of people, for the past 1 month, I've been talking about knowledgeable people who are campaigning about blue economy, who didn't know how to get there. They really didn't know how to get there. They didn't have the knowledge of the trajectory, where they're going to go, how they're going to start, what is involved. Yeah. So this is the part of the reality that we must face when we hear the topic about blue economy that is going to save the ocean, and then we want that to happen. But we are standing on the other side of the gorge, yelling instruction to the people on the dream site to do coral planting, to do sustainable fishing, to do this and that. Yeah, if you are telling them when they are on the way to the ocean to catch a few kilo of fish that barely sustain their family, and it takes them all day from morning till evening to do that, how are you going to make it realized? Yeah. So this is why I am not passive, or I am not pessimistic about it, but I'm just telling what we have not done to create an ecosystem where this concept, this great ambition that can actually work, is not done in the right way. We make people want to leave what they're doing, but they cannot afford to. If they leave the coast and walk across the mountain and reach the gorge, and we leave them there, they didn't know how to cross, there's no bridge. And then after waiting, people will get frustrated, they will go back to their old ways. Okay, this is why local communities are often skeptic about all this blue economy concept and whatnot. Okay, we need to teach them principles that guide the journey from diversifying what they're doing, to strengthening their local ownership, to integrate ecology into an economic way, to innovate, to collaborate with other people outside, then to learn to reinvest and adopt and learn. Okay, we need to do these things first before we start to strap on the scuba gear and tell the local boys and girls that, oh, we are going to save the ocean. And once we save the ocean, everything is going to be okay. No, it's not. Because those who live one day at a time still will live one day at a time. Those who use explosive in the ocean will still use explosive in the ocean. Those who are polluting the ocean will still pollute the ocean, because we have gone way too advanced, neglecting the foundation of what they need to make their dream a reality. So we are where we are today. Where we are today is on the dream side. Yeah. What's beyond that gorge? That guy was saying to his little son. Yeah. First step is to explore and look beyond. Create curiosity. Create want. They want it to do or not. Create that feeling. Yeah. And then teach them. Please teach them. Educate them. Our approach start small and grow together. As we grow, we teach them, listen to them, listen to what they want to say first, then engage and share and try to inspire them what to do. Show them small accomplishment at a time that they will be happy at. Then they will be willing to go a little bit further, to grow more. Then spark the startup. This is the point where everyone will come together to be a union, a cooperative, or whatever we want to say. Then continue to build their capacity, expand and connect them. Yeah. So the business is not about you. The business is about them. Then expand them. Yeah. So that your goal is to see them successful and not see them sitting there from years and years in end in the same way or even more degraded and feel sorry about it. Okay. Then together is who? Together, the guys who are living in the reality part and the dream part are equal. And therefore, a big bridge is built there. Then there is an achievement. We are not too far away. The journey begins with one step. Look beyond, dream bigger, let's build the blue economy together. That's the message. But who's going to start? Who's going to start? I don't feel cool when I go sit with some local communities peeling onions or peeling fruits. I feel cool because I can jump in the water and plant some coral. That doesn't work anymore. That is not yet part of the blue economy that we are going to get. Okay? So then if we look further, then the bridge begins with us. The bridge begins with people like us. Throughout this presentation, I've spoken about the dream and a reality. The dream is a regenerative blue economy. That means the dream is a...
Dalawa lang ang sumali dito sa presentation ni Dr. Anwar.
Hello,
Gusto mo sumali?
hello.
Ay, sorry.
Hello. Okay.
Sorry.
Okay. Throughout this presentation, I'm already 3 slides to the end. but you will get the recording anyway. But the dream site, which is on the other side of the gorge, is regenerative blue economy, where healthy ocean support thriving communities, where conservation creates prosperity, where economic growth strengthens rather than exploit nature. Okay. The reality is that we are not there yet. Yeah, the reality is we are not there yet. Between those two worlds, the reality worlds on the right-hand side and the dream world on the left-hand side, yeah, it's a big contrast. Between the two worlds lies a very deep gorge, a very deep ravine gorge, yeah, whereby everybody on the other side, the local communities, the fisher folk, the people who we want to be the key stakeholder in blue economy are living one day at a time. So when we talk about conservation of ocean, this and that, blue economy or carbon, negative carbon footprint and all these things, they couldn't care less because they live one day at a time. Okay, they live one day at a time. And then if they follow you, they will follow you to a very deep gorge and they stop there. They will stop there. Because if they follow all the things that you are telling them to do, to plant coral, to fish sustainably, to not harm the ocean, to don't pollute, to everything, yeah, they follow you. And then how are you going to get them to become literate in blue economy? The one that they can earn money and live on while sustaining its environment that you are talking about the whole time in the dream site. When you don't teach commerce literacy to local community, don't start getting them growing oysters to be sold at 100 peso a kilo, or cultivate shrimp that is going to be undercut by the commercial market and get peanuts out of it, they are still earning a very low value. In fact, the fisher folk, the local communities, the craft makers, the local tour guides in the dream site of the world are the value makers. They create value. The people in the urban side are benefiting from that value. Why? Because seafood is cheap, everything is cheap. The people who are creating the value is not getting the value they need to live on, let alone to realize the blue economy concept. Okay, so this is what we are going to talk about. So we are going to build a lot of education program based on that. The example are agricultural. The farmers in the advanced country, they have unions, they have cooperative, they have things like that. And they are commerce literate. They are commerce literate and they know the prices of what their produce are. So therefore, they are not earning as peanut as the counterpart in Asia, who are our local community. Because why? Because our local community never knew anything about commerce literate or commerce literacy. Okay? So across the gorge lies a future of thriving ocean and prosperous communities. The bridge will not build itself. It takes all of us, different role, one shared mission to sustain tomorrow, to be a sustainable tomorrow. Yeah, it takes everybody to realize the concept of the blue economy, where the ocean, the thriving ocean and prosperous community can exist. The bridge will not build itself. Okay, I have already mentioned about build the bridge earlier. In the previous presentation, the bridge does not exist yet. Okay, so the stakeholders that is involved in this are the corporate companies, the governmental bodies, the two most difficult people to deal with, and then the NGOs, even more difficult people to deal with, and then the local entrepreneurs. It gets easier to deal with. Student and youth, they listen to you. Yeah, as they grow up, they will realize whether you are telling them a lie or truth. Okay, then the educational institution that's supposed to carry knowledge to the local community about what commerce literacy is all about. So all of these guys, when combined, becomes the bridge to the reality side of blue economy. The ocean does not need more spectators. They need partners. They need partners to conserve, to restore, to empower, to sustain, to prosper. Without prosperity, we can talk about conservation to a local person. They will say yes to everything you do because they expect you to pay them something. Apart from that, they couldn't care less. Okay? So that is, now, from here, we need, all of us, we need to talk. Okay? We need to talk about, with the corporate companies, about ESG, about community education and training, with the institution. We need to talk about conservation enterprises, how they work. We need to talk about regenerative tourism. We need to talk about blue economy development, research and innovation. What are we going to talk about? We're going to talk about collaboration. We're not going to talk and have a cup of coffee. When it runs dry, we go home and sleep quietly. No, no, no. This presentation is an invitation for everyone who is watching the recording or at this presentation to, they are welcome to collaborate if they are ready. Then we can talk about the blue economy concept. I have several organizations already that is ready to be partnership and is asking what role they can play. So I think I will send them this recording so that they can understand what role they can play. Okay? Right. So in the next presentation, this is third week presentation. How many people are we going to talk about in a multi-stakeholder situation? And then next presentation, we are going to talk about something more interesting. Let me go back to the first slide. Okay, we are going to talk about the communities from dream to reality, and then we're going to talk about right, this is the next topic, journey to the gorge. We need to understand who is who. We need to understand the sea communities, the sea gypsies, the Bajau, the Moken people. Who are they, what role they play. We're going to talk about the coastal communities. This is the main focus of blue economy. And then we talk about the suburban people. We're going to talk about the urban society who is banging the drums about conservation, this and that, who have the resources and the technology and the knowledge. And then we're going to talk about the challenge, the gorge. Yeah. And we're going to talk about the objective that we are going to get. We are going to also talk about, in the next presentation, is how the corporation, the urban societies, the departmental bodies who are based in the urban society has been dumping their resources into the gorge that will never return. Okay? In the blue economy concept, it's no longer acceptable. Every penny or every dollar that is spent in development of the blue economy has to land in a tangible result in the objective of regenerative economy itself. Okay? It will not dump into here. So when we talk about choosing people to work with, okay, I always mention this to my subordinate to choose the right people. I'm very angry when they choose the wrong people because it is going to waste their time, waste their resources, make them less happy. A lot of things will happen. Okay? And that normally does not happen, does not cause by the people we are targeting. The people we are targeting was never involved in any part of what we do. Okay? And why don't we target the sea communities? I will explain in the next presentation. We started from the edge of the water and tried to make them to take that journey across this little hill everywhere and to the edge of the gorge. Imagine that the gorge has no bridge yet, nothing yet. So they will stand there and look across and wonder how they're going to get there. And that is where everybody is trying to tell them to do. The journey to the gorge. Nothing beyond that. Okay, they will never get beyond that. This is why this presentation is very important. Right, question? Question?
It's me, Mona. Well, all the questions I just noted down and all the, doubts I have. I see you just mentioned we will talk about the next few times.
Yeah.
Starting with the local fishermen, I have to say that this has to involve the governments already, because the big fishing industry is fishing and doing a lot of more harm away out in the open sea. So local fishermen don't even catch as much anymore to survive.
We will talk about this topic more in next presentation when we get to the coastal community.
And then also the bridge will take a lot of funding to come from one point where they just earn enough for one day and then gain the time to process and change. So the fundings are essential. And
so you see the concept of the blue economy is not a new thing. It is a new name. The concept is not new. In the Western world, their agriculture system right?
Yeah.
That puts people in the right place with the right kind of education,
Yeah.
right? And make them grow with, now we can say, some assistance, but not always. Most of the time they are self-sustaining. Yeah.
Uh,
And then they are capable of not just sustain themselves, but become comfortable. They can have machines working for them that cost $500,000, right? Harvesters and tractors and all these things.
mm,
And these are just farmers. If the Western world can create farmers that is commerce literate and have know the value of their produce, then the local community on the coastal of Asia should be given the same opportunity, correct? And
correct.
that opportunity
And
is the blue
needs
economy.
and needs a lot of education first, so they know. And then at the same time, I think about how can life be still affordable for the locals if there are people willing to pay more when they change to the other side, like tourists.
Oh yeah. Oh, yeah.
There must be restrictions by governments to have, well,
No.
but different standards.
It's not just the government. It must be the people themselves also.
Operators too. Yeah, there has to be monitoring. There has to be punishments. There has to be permits taken off. So the whole thing is complex, and it takes everyone possible to work together, and possible and best thing will be at the same time, because if just one or two parts are missing on the other better side, how can the circle work? So
this is the last one. When we talk about environmental capital, we are going to talk about the business side of it. We're going to talk about how things work in the blue economy concept. Now we are just laying the foundation. Who's doing what, and why this is the wrong start, right? People start from, planting coral and growing oyster, and this is already halfway to the gorge. We already left the coastal. Halfway to the gorge. We have to start from literacy. We are at the edge of the sea. With the local community, teach them something valuable. Watch them from day to day, earning one day at a time, and then start to improve from there. When they see improvement, they want to take that journey. Okay. When they want to take that journey, then they will follow that journey slowly. But as they are journeying to the bridge, to the gorge, the bridge must already started to build.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's not waiting for them to go to the gorge and then, wait a moment, I'm going to build you a bridge.
Because then they starve to death too then.
Okay.
That's exactly my point.
Okay. So that is strategy already. Next month, we are going to talk about blue economy strategy. That's different.
Okay. So,
So why I started this presentation? Because I actually researched. When I was researching, the more I research, the more I have to reverse from where I am, backing up, backing until I reach the coastal, right?
Yeah.
That is where I realized, we are not starting at the right point. We are starting in the middle of the journey. That is not correct. We are leaving many people behind. We're leaving everybody behind. So we have to back up, and then we reach the. So I was doing research for a book exactly titled is Journey to the Gorge. I was researching about blue economy and how does people supposedly so poor that are able to go to the standards of the Western farmers, at least, right? We're not talking about them becoming a corporate chairman or whatever. We don't want them to be a corporate executive, but at least we want them to be the level of commerce literacy of the Western farmers. Okay?
Okay.
All right. So I'm going to say good night, and we see you again next week with the next topic. Why do I exclude the sea gypsies? Why don't I include them? Why do I focus on the urban and the coastal? We'll talk about it. Okay?
Makes sense. Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night. Good night, Craig.